Welcome, Ms. Omar. Go ahead and conclude your thoughts.
Yes, having said this, the issues that will shape the campaign and will allow us to be on equal footing is when Mr. President adequately and properly declare his assets. Now, the way he used to declare his asset was to summarize the items in the CCB form and then release it to the media. Now, that was not the promise. The promise was that he was going to declare his assets publicly. And this has been demonstrated by one of our presidents, Umar Musa Yar'Adua, who handed over his Code of Conduct Bureau form to the media for them to investigate. And of course, the total assets, including those of his children and wife, were less than $1 billion. And no allegation of corruption or whatsoever has been ever raised against Umar Yar'Adua for such declaration. Now, Mr. President owes us a duty to declare his assets properly. Let him hand over his CCB form to the media so that what is there what is missing in the asset declaration form can be investigated upon, or what is added that is not there will still be investigated upon, and the Nigerian populace will know his true net worth. But the fact that he has shielded himself from declaring his assets publicly puts a question to his integrity. Secondly, he is the one who has shown enough desperation in the fact that he has refused to assent to the Electoral Act. There are so many issues that have been hovering around the Electoral Act.
Just hang on.
We'll
come to the Electoral Act. Just hold on a minute. We'll come to that as we progress. But let me get Mr. Akintara to respond to this. Mr. Akintara, would there be anything wrong if the president were to just hand over or do what Mr. Omar is suggesting there about his Code of Conduct form?
I think my colleague here and his principal, they are shooting themselves in their own foot. Why I say that is that we should even ask them, when they were in power, did they even thought about declaring assets or even telling Nigerians what they earn, during their tenure and after their tenure? And has Alhaji Atiku Abubakar tell Nigerians the real source of his so-called wealth? So these are some of the questions Nigerians are asking. He talked about the president and the code of conduct.
Yes, go ahead.
I remember vividly. After the election, when the president emerged as the winner of the general election in 2015, he declared his assets publicly, and the code of conduct collected some of this information, and it now falls on the PDP and the desperate politician, I'll still call them, to go approach the CCT or the Code of Conduct Bureau. I wanted to say to publish their findings. So it's not for him here to sit down here and begin to allege or begin to make unnecessary accusation against the president, of which the president have already done so. So when I talk about
Mr. Akintara, what he is saying is that the president should hand over his asset declaration form, publish it, and make it public to the media. That's what he's suggesting. It's different from the media going to access it from the CCB.
It's like impugning on the powers of CCT. They have their powers, they have their duties. It's their role to investigate on the declaration that the president has made. It's not the president's power or jurisdiction to usurp on their powers or to subvert their power. It is the role of the civil society and people like my colleague here to go out there on the media or write a petition, to CCT to publish, to do their job as the way they want the CCT to do the job. So I think their allegation is neither here nor there. The real issue is that PDP and their candidate is somebody that has lost momentum. Look at some of the rallies they've held.
Before you move on to that, let me ask you, Mr. Hakim, Part of the allegations or the response that the PDP's presidential candidate put out there is that he doesn't understand why Abdulrasheed Maina has not been arrested.
Well, why he has not been arrested? But of course, you know, Chamberlain, that investigation is still on the case of Abdulrasheed Maina. And well, let's leave that aside. Let's talk about how he even got to the position of presidential task force on the pension reform.
Ms.
He was appointed.
Ms. Akintayo, just a minute.
And there was allegation.
No, when they raise these kind of issues and you just dismiss it, they may just think that that doesn't demonstrate the willingness on the part of this government to fight or to deal with that particular case, because they went on and says that the fight against corruption, from their perspective, seems to be targeting opposition governors and members of the party. So would it be out of place for them to go headlong and make sure that Abdulrasheed Maina is arrested and the public is briefed, or they follow through with his investigation and prosecution?
Let me throw this question back to you. Let me ask you, is Abdulrasheed Maina still in the civil service? Is he still in government? He's not. He has been sacked by the president.
Are you aware?
Secondly,
just a minute. Are you aware that he was on EFCC's wanted list, and somehow he got into the country, got into the service, while still on EFCC's wanted list? Are you aware of that?
Well, the position of that issue today is that he has been sacked from the system.
Are you aware of that? Yes or no? Are you aware he was on EFCC's wanted list?
Yes, we were. It's a known fact that he was on the EFCC wanted list, and the EFCC is still looking for him up to now. It's unfortunate that they couldn't grab him when he sneaked into the country. And as it is now, the security agencies, they are doing their job to get this man to prosecute him. And that is, I think we should leave it at that. And let's not begin to dictate how the agencies are supposed to do their work. They are doing their work. And on the other hand, when my brother here is talking about...
If I may just come in again, we are not dictating anything or trying to obstruct whatever process is on, but it is of importance that the perception that this government, which it's one of the fulcrums of which it rode on, is to fight corruption. But for the president to make that submission that the process, yes, is going on, but it is slow, gives a lot of concerns for a lot of people, for a government that professes that it is fighting corruption. So what areas of this corruption or the war on corruption is the problem, as Umar did ask you, that is it the judiciary aspect of it that is slow, or what part of this anti-corruption war would you say has been this slow?
My brother, Gimba, if you must have followed the utterances of the president, so far, he has been complaining about the slow pace of prosecution of suspected corrupt personalities in the country. And he has always advocated for means to enhance this fight against corruption. He talked about, he advocated for a special court on corruption to be created, by the heads of the judiciary. And I think if the judiciary will also accelerate their support to fight this corruption, it will go a long way. And mind you, even with the slow pace, with the slow pace that the PDP government left the judiciary, the president and this present government has been able to even make a quick win.
Let me just put you on pause for a minute or two and get the views of Mr. Umar. Is this wishful thinking that you think that Mr. Akintayo is giving?
Yes, I think Mr. Akintayo is utterly confused, and he does not understand where the conversation is going to. First and foremost, he has accused my principal of not declaring his assets publicly. My principal did not make any promise to Nigerians during his time that he was going to declare his assets publicly. Eradua, who was the president then, had made a promise that he was going to declare his assets publicly, and he did, of course. Segun Adeniyi handed over the CCB form to journalists. That is what is called integrity. You make a promise and you fulfill the promise. Whatever encumbrance that you are likely to face, whether you are going to be advised or not, the fact that you have made a promise, that promise is a bond. You have to tell Nigerians what you own, so that Nigerians will now compare you now and understand this is what he has, and by the time you leave office, this is what you get. This is what you have. So they will now know whether you have actually fought corruption or that you have also indulged yourself in corrupt practices. Now, having said that, I will also say that the issues of whether Abdurrashid Baina came into the country and left the country without it being seen and he was sacked is merely a face-saving measure, because a person who was brought in allegedly to try to recover stolen funds was not arrested, was allowed to go back to his own job, to be